At this time, I would like to call this meeting to order. Once again, welcome to everyone, and we always start our meetings by standing to saying the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all for that. I'd like to remind everyone as you come into the boardroom, there's a sign-in sheet if you'd like to sign in. Mr. Brock, do we have any revisions to this agenda?
We do not.
Moving on, first on our agenda, we have the swearing in of a new board member, Ms. Sharon Whitaker. So I'd like to ask our board attorney to come forth and issue the oath of office to Ms. Sharon Whitaker. Cassidy, will you take pictures?
Would you raise your right hand, please? Now, you want to repeat after me, or me to make okay, all right. I, Sharon Whitaker, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
and be faithful and true to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
as long as I can continue as citizens thereof,
and I will faithfully execute,
to
to the best of my ability, the office of member of the Estill County Board of Education,
of the Estill County Board of Education,
according to law,
and
and I do further solemnly swear
I do further solemnly swear
that since the adoption of the present Constitution,
since the adoption of the present Constitution,
that I, being a citizen of this state,
that I, being a citizen of this state,
have not fought a duel with deadly weapons
have not fought a duel with deadly weapons
within this state, nor out of it, nor have I sent or accepted a challenge to fight a duel with deadly weapons, nor have I acted as a second in carrying a challenge, nor aided or assisted any person thus offending, so help me God. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
So we would like to welcome Ms. Sharon Whitaker to serve on the Estill County Board of Education.
Thank you.
Do you
I'm
have
excited.
anything you'd like to say?
No, I'm excited to have this privilege to serve not only the community, but the students and the staff. So I'm excited.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome. So next on our agenda, we have swearing in of our new SRO officer, Mr. Shane Southworth. Mr. Brock, do you have anything to add to that?
We've got an amazing SRO team. I mean, you all know Chief Bell. He's been with us for a while now, and he's done a great job recruiting us some very good SROs. Mr. Southwood is excellent. He's already started developing relationships with kids, and we're just blessed to have him. And aside from him, you all know Ethan Gibson. We've had him for a while. He's in the academy, and I just brag on him just for a second too. He was elected by his troop to be the flag bearer and to lead them. And he's doing a great job there as well. So if you want to come forward, Shane.
Raise your right hand, please. I, Shane Southwood,
I, Shane Southwood,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and the Constitution of this Commonwealth,
and be faithful and true
and be faithful and true
to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
to the Commonwealth of Kentucky,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
so long as I continue a citizen thereof,
and that I will faithfully execute,
and I will faithfully execute,
to the best of my ability,
to the best of my ability,
the office of Estill County Schools Police Officer,
the office of the Estill County Schools Police Officer,
according to law,
according to law,
and I do further solemnly swear
and I do further solemnly swear
that since the adoption of the present Constitution,
that since the adoption of the present Constitution,
I have not fought a duel with a deadly weapon
I have not fought a duel with a
within the state,
within the state,
nor out of it,
nor out of it,
nor have I accepted a challenge
nor have I accepted a challenge
to fight a duel with deadly weapons,
to fight a duel with deadly weapons,
nor have I acted as a second
nor have I acted as a second
in carrying out a challenge,
in carrying out a challenge,
nor aided or assisted
nor aided or assisted
any person thus offending,
any person thus attending,
so help me God.
so help me God.
I further solemnly swear
I further solemnly swear
that I, as Estill County Police Officer,
that I, as Estill County Police Officer,
will endeavor to the best of my ability
will endeavor to the best of my ability
to detect and to prosecute
to detect and prosecute
all gamblers and others
all gamblers and others
violating the laws against gaming.
violating the laws against gaming.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Welcome aboard.
Congratulations.
Do you have anything you'd like to say, Mr. Southworth? Thank you. Okay, moving right along. Next on our agenda, we have our facilities and construction update. Mr. Brock, first on our list, we have an update concerning Estill County Middle School.
Yeah, and we've got DECO with us tonight. I think they've got a short update for us, and then we've got some items that are go along with that, so.
Okay, it's good to be back. My name is Derek Phillips. I'm your architect of record for the new middle school project. I'm joined by one gaggle of architects or engineers and contractors this evening. So I'm going to try to get out of your way quickly because the meat of the content comes from your engineers tonight. This is a heavy dirt and roads type of night. So just to give a brief overview, we owe you a few updates as we go through the design process. So we offered that first one last month to get the schematic design approval. Typically, we would then offer you a design development approval and then construction documents for bidding. But we're breaking away from the typical process just a little bit because we need to expedite the site work. And this is at the district's direction, but the best way to keep this project on task and to get the site moving is to break the project basically apart, and we're going to try to get the site moving first while we continue to design the building. So the building is not completely designed yet, but we're going to go ahead and move forward with getting the site out to bid. So there are two items down at D and E, and those are the ones that we are seeking from you because we need to prove to KDE that we do have these approvals in order to keep the process going. So Jeremy, if you could just kind of click through. I'm not even going to talk about each sheet. We just want to prove that this exists. So this is proof that the documents do exist for bidding. When we're just going to flip through so you know that they do indeed exist, and then once we get to the end of them, we have some sheets that are actually designed to present from. But I'm joined tonight by Codell. So Kenny Davis is with us. If you have any questions about the actual bid process or how that will work, he can handle anything on that front. Stephen Toby, of course, is with us at DECO. He's been kind of the team lead on our side. You got Steve Baker there behind him. He's a civil engineer, so he's done most of the heavy lifting so far, and he can talk to you specifically about the site. And then right there we have Logan Sams. He's the structural engineer, so he can talk some about the pyritic shale, the issues that it brings, and our strategy to get past those issues. So how are we doing on these? Jeremy, a few left?
Few left,
Few left.
almost there,
Okay.
one more, and there it is.
All right, so these are the documents that will go out for bidding purposes so that we can get contractor pricing. So I'm going to yield first to Logan, if you want to come up, and he's just going to give you kind of a general outline of what the issues are. We know that you're aware, but just to illustrate it and to let you know that we do have a strategy to combat those issues.
Hello. As Derek said, I'm Logan Sams from Sams and DeGoff Engineers. We're going to act as structural engineer of record for the project. And as everyone knows, this is a pretty challenging site with inherent risk, right? We've got problems with the middle school already, and we're building on something very similar, basically the same. So we have to really address it, and we put a lot of work and thought into how we're going to deal with this, and it's kind of twofold. I could talk about it a long time, but I'll just be kind of brief. On the first hand, we have to limit the amount of expanse that the soil is going to see. So it's basically a time, as soon as you expose it to, as you excavate and expose it to the air, you're on a time clock, ticking time clock. So we're going to cap it, seal it, and minimize the amount of expanse that we're going to see. And then as a buffer, we're going to also use a void box system, which is more or less cardboard boxes that have kind of a honeycomb shape in them, and they deteriorate over time. And so as we place concrete on top of that, we'll be left with more or less a 12-inch crawl space. So that way, we're minimizing the amount of expanse that the shell is going to see, but it's probably going to expand a little bit. We can't 100% know that we're not going to see any kind of movement in that soil. So we've got this buffer zone of 12 inches between our structure and the soil below, so that as it moves, if it moves any, we've got a little bit of play, and we won't see any of the detriment that we've seen at the middle school so far. Any questions?
Okay, have you ever had any experience with this type of soil before, and was it successful, or?
Not the shell, but we have, we've seen very expansive clays before in Texas that had the potential to move up to 12 inches seasonally. So every year they would fluctuate up to 12 inches. And we've used this same type of void box system in Texas on a few projects successfully. So it's a pretty common system in other parts of the country. It's not so much common here in Kentucky because we don't typically see this kind of movement in Kentucky like we see in other parts of the country.
Do you know how much movement was involved in the current middle school?
So far, we've been monitoring it for about a year and a half to 2 years. Is that right, Mr. Brock?
Yeah.
Year and a half to 2 years?
We're coming up on 2 years.
Yeah, and it has moved as much as 5.5 inches so far that we have measured. That main corridor, when you come in, has moved about 5.5 inches.
So then the 12-inch buffer would kind of help eliminate that.
Yes. Also, you have to remember at the middle school, the current middle school, they didn't treat it at all at the beginning. And it's moved 5.5 inches. And then, as I understand, I've not reviewed the remediation drawings for the middle school.
Yeah.
But they did do something similar in the gym area, in the
Yeah.
back half of the building, in that they excavated out and basically formed a crawl space underneath it, is what I understand. And then that area has performed pretty good since.
Yeah. And,
So more or less, we're trying to build a crawl space underneath it.
yeah, and he's our structural engineer. We've got a geological engineer that's dealt with it before, and that's where he's taking his
Okay.
drawings and stuff from. So,
Okay,
yeah.
thanks.
Yeah, so the geotechnical engineer, they try
Yeah,
to
geotech.
remediate the expanse of the soil. And then what we're trying to do is create that buffer zone between the two. And between
But
their
even-
efforts and our efforts, I feel confident that it's gonna perform well.
But even before you get to the part of building the buffer space or the crawl space, part of treating it is not exposing it.
Right.
So you're gonna be doing a lot of work to keep that from even happening,
Right.
Yeah.
So
which
basically.
wasn't done at the old middle school.
Right.
Yeah.
So more or less what we're doing is we're excavating out 6 feet below the finished floor of this building. So we're going 6 feet below, and then immediately within 24 hours, we're specifying it has to be coated with concrete. So that seals it and keeps it from being exposed to the air. And this is gonna probably have to be done in phases, because you can't excavate this whole area within 24 hours and seal it all off. So it's gonna be in phases. And then we're gonna cap it with 4 feet of clay fill. So that clay goes on top of the concrete. And then on top of that are the void boxes. And of course, we have to touch the shell in places. And what we're doing is we're gonna do drill piers that go down into the clay, down into the shell, and it's gonna be a drill and fill method. So we drill it, immediately fill it with concrete, and then we go over top of that with grade beams. It's almost like a bridge. It really is almost like bridge construction for the floor slab. And then when it's gonna be proportioned in such a way that these piers exert a tremendous amount of pressure on the shell. And so that as it starts trying to expand, it can't. It's gonna be somewhere around 15,000 pounds per square foot exerted on the shell.
Thank you for addressing that. I know a lot of people just have a lot of concerns and questions because we're building on a similar site, and we just wanna make sure that it's done right
Oh, we do
to
too.
begin with.
Absolutely.
Because we've had nothing but trouble out of the old middle school.
Right.
And then a lot of people have questioned, and Mr. Brock can address this, a lot of people have even questioned why that site. Well, Estill County's kinda landlocked, and we searched the county over looking for land.
Yeah, so, yeah, we already own it, number one. And then I asked the geotechnical engineer in one of the meetings, well, what if we did change sites? We're either gonna be dealing with pyritic shell or we're gonna be in a flood zone. And I'd rather deal with the shell than be in a flood zone.
Or the infrastructure's not there.
Yeah, or there's no infrastructure there, yeah, that's true.
Well, as far as I know, we're applying more safeguards than has ever been applied for a periodic shell site before.
Yep.
And I've conferred with several geotechnical and structural engineers, and we're taking every precaution possible.
Yeah,
And it's gonna be at a cost too.
Yeah, I spoke with the former superintendent of Madison County Schools. They deal with it some there too, actually this week, and had him explain their process to me when they build buildings, when they run into it. And we're doing far more than they've done, and they've not had any problems, so.
We appreciate the update, and, it's exciting to me to hear that all these precautions are being taken, because as I shared when I started talking, people have a lot of anxiety about building on that site,
Right.
and so we wanna make sure it's done right.
Yes, correct.
Well, we're available for any further questions.
Yes, sir. Thank you for being here.
Absolutely. So, good.
Do we have the right file queued up?
We do.
Okay, all right. So next we'll have Steve Baker. Steve is the civil engineer. So, again, he's done the heavy lifting so far, but he is your, kind of the driver of the overall site design, and he can give us an update on where we are so far.
Good evening. As Derek said, I'm Steve Baker. I'm with Midwest Engineering, and honored to be part of this project, be part of Derek's gaggle of design professionals that are tackling this project. It's been a really fun process, and it's the first time I've had a chance to be before you guys. So I wanted to say that first of all, it's an honor to be part of the project, like we said. But learning your staff and learning your team has been really impressive. This design that we're showing you tonight is absolutely a team effort. We've had dozens of hours of meetings with your staff and your team, from Mr. Brock down to Todd and Jeremy and many others that are giving us incredible feedback on not just this building doesn't just need to exist, but it needs to be functional and usable. And if we do our jobs well, nobody will be thinking about the civil engineer who designed it, because it'll just be working. And that's our goal. So your team has been phenomenal in helping us get there. What I'd like to do is just show you a couple sheets that kind of give you an overall view of kind of our vision for how this school will function within your campus. And that's really important as we try to visualize not just the building itself and how it's oriented, but how are we going to access it? Traffic, pedestrians, students, buses, visitors, all the above. We want to think through that and try to let this not just be another building on a piece of property you own, but it's going to fit within your campus and function well. So what you're seeing there on the screen is an overall site layout plan that essentially shows, if you start on the top side there with the existing bus loop at the middle school, we're essentially going to connect in front of the ATC and actually bring the primary school bus route will come up this side of the building and actually don't know if y'all can see this or not, but the bus loop will actually go this side. So students will have a covered canopy on this side that will be able to enter and exit the buses there and leave. What's great about that is that allows us to isolate traffic on this side of the property so that parents, visitors, and buses are not mixed. We can actually isolate that traffic and give your administration options on how to direct traffic and have multiple ways in and out of the school. We hope that will not only function well with the new school, but actually improve the function of the other two buildings on the side as well, and try to take advantage of this project and improve circulation everywhere. So that's one of the big things that I think we're able to accomplish here. The other thing I wanted to point out on this sheet is there's an area here that was gonna kind of be a weird triangle of material there that was gonna be left. And so what we decided to do is actually excavate that and create a auxiliary parking area that will function for the middle school, but also for the softball and baseball fields. So that I think will not only help, again, the school, but the whole campus itself.
Yes.
Go to that next sheet if you don't care, Jeremy. So this is the same plan, but this actually shows the proposed grading, and I won't linger on this too long, but essentially we're moving about 650,000 cubic yards of material to make this site work. I did some lazy math on that. That's over 1 million tons of earth that we're going to be moving as part of this project. And so this site definitely has some challenges, but it also creates some opportunities, because when you're moving that much material, it gives you some options. And so while we're here filling in some of these areas, we have room for a practice athletic field, football field, and can be used for kind of a multi-purpose spot that I think will be a benefit to the whole student body and the whole community. So yeah, that's the primary layout. Again, we're tying back into Engineer Road on this end, and primarily, you know, after school, we envision parents being able to come in this way. We have a dedicated turn lane for them, so they're not gonna block traffic as they queue up. If your community's like where my kids go to school, we have parents who like to get there really early and get a spot in line, so we wanna facilitate that. And they'll be able to pick up and drop off, and then turn around and come right back out the way they came, and never have to interact with the bus route. So that's the primary overall view. If you want to go to that last sheet, this is a color-coded map that the design team has looked at probably more than they want to. But this is essentially a visual way to describe where the earth is coming from and where it's going, where the cut and where the fill is. So the red areas are the areas where we're actually cutting down below existing grade, and the blue areas are where all that dirt is moving to. So essentially, you can kind of visualize, we're cutting these areas in the red and orange areas, and we're moving that material into the blue areas.
So most of the dirt that you move will be used as fill on site? It
Yes.
won't need to be taken somewhere else in the
So,
county?
so the goal is to provide a 100% balanced site. There's a little bit of variance in whether or not we know for 100% sure that's gonna be possible, but we're working to limit any type of haul-off material, yeah. The variable in that is the swell factor. We know that, you know, when you cut this type of material, it's going to be a larger volume than it is currently. It just expands, and so depending on how much that ends up being, we may have to get creative with finding places to haul off, but our goal and our intent is to provide a balanced site, yes. But that's really all I had. If you have any questions or any comments, I'd be glad to.
I had another
answer.
question back to that one slide where you're gonna create the practice football field or the practice field. So they would use that lower parking lot to park and then just walk over the hill to that? Is that what your thoughts are on it?
Yeah, so it is a little bit of a remove from the
That's what I
primary
was
parking area in
looking
front. But that's just really a function of the terrain. That's the area that we have that's big enough to facilitate a full football field dimensions. There is gonna be some areas, adjacent to it that we're not showing as parking that could ultimately become parking in the future. But yeah, that's, the primary parking would be there in the front of the entrance to the school.
We're just glad to have another practice
Thanks,
site,
Bill.
so
Yeah.
we're just glad to have that,
Yes.
so.
Well, we didn't want pedestrians here.
He didn't talk about it, but there's a sidewalk that comes up from the middle school, the current middle school, and goes to that middle school. And we'll talk more about what's gonna happen with that site where the middle school is gonna get deconstructed.
Okay.
But yes, that's in the future,
Right,
what we're
okay.
talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I won't bore you with any more details, but pedestrian accessibility to the parking and the athletic fields and the other campuses is something we've tried to facilitate. in this
Yes,
design.
definitely.
Well, thank you very much.
thank you.
We appreciate it. We're super excited.
Okay, so that's the bulk of our content for tonight. Next month gets a little more fun because we'll go back to the building. I think what we do is a little more fun than what Steve does. So we'll be back to the building next month and give you a pretty good, healthy update there. Maybe, May. Do we skip a month? Oh, okay. Well, you guys are free. Free month. Free month, okay. And then we will be back soon, but we're working diligently. And we have begun correspondence with KDE from last month's submittal, so they have received it. They are talking to us. Good news is they're not picking on what we thought they would pick on. Bad news is they're picking on other stuff. So we're working through that. And we'll offer you more updates soon on that front.
Thank you so much.
Kenny? Okay.
Thanks, Derek. So glad to be back in front of you guys. I know it's about my fifth project here, so I do appreciate the work for sure. So today, there's a item we had to take a motion on and approve, which would be to advertise for bids. So I will be back next month sometime when we bid, because we're gonna bid on April 22nd. We'll have the drawings and specs out to bid next Monday, and we like to do it about a month period, so we get enough bidders to bid the work. The good thing about going with CM, going with Codell is we can bid this early site package by itself, and then I think late fall, early winter, we'll have the building package done, and we can bid out the rest of the building package. We're gonna have a 5-month schedule for this work. It's gonna start as soon as schools, well, it's gonna start probably in the middle of May. We'll probably go up, if it comes in budget, we'll go up there and we'll start the site clearing, all the tree lines and stuff out up there. And then starting, I think it's probably gonna be close to June the 1st, we will have to start blasting up there. So the game plan would be is to have all the blasting completed before you start school back. And then we'll spend the next couple of months wrapping up all the fine tuning of the dirt work. So a 5-month schedule gets us to that point. And then if everything goes well, we're done sometime, let's say in September. There might be a couple months lull there until the plans are done, and then we'll bid out the other one, like I said, early winter. So, but we do need a motion eventually on advertising for bids.
Gotcha.
Thank you, Kenny. So, Mr. Brock, do you have further to add before I ask for motions?
No, we'll just go down through here on these. I will say that they've been excellent to work with, the whole team. And he's talking about hiccups, we'll get through them. It won't be an issue. I've already been in contact with Katie 2 or 3 times this week. It'll work, we'll make sure it gets worked out.
So, do you wanna, first of all, do item D?
Let's just roll through these real quick.
So,
Or we can,
you wanna go back up because?
yeah, we probably ought to go on, we need to go in order.
Well, you line to line, or we could group them if you wanted to.
Okay.
Because we go back up to the top, that's,
Yeah, that's
Baird.
for Baird, which, I mean, it doesn't matter as long as we approve them. So,
Regular board meeting, if it's special board meeting, you can take it out of order.
yeah.
so you wanna let Bear go ahead and do that?
Yeah, let's just get theirs real quick and then we'll go down through and approve everything.
So, do you have anything to add, or?
Yeah, so we've got some items here, consideration approval of, engagement with Baird to serve as financial advisor for sale of bonds. The bonds that we're going to look at approving here as the next item is just to shore up, some projects that we've had already completed so that we can close out the BG5s on them. So for consideration approval of the, engagement to serve as our financial advisor, it's my recommendation that we approve it.
Okay, so I need a motion for approval of an engagement with Baird to serve as our financial advisor for the sale of District Series 2025 general obligation bonds. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries with a 5-0 vote. So, next we have consideration for approval of authorizing the issuance of approximately $890,000 Estill County Board of Education General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2025.
Yeah.
Mr. Brock?
So this is what I was talking about. We're looking to approve this to clear up 2 or 3 projects that we've got BG 5s on right now so that we can close them out and get them put to beds so we can start this new project. I think Mark's got just a few things he needs to say about it, and then we'll look for a motion in a second.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brock.
Do you mind to use the microphone?
We did this whole demonstration thing with it beforehand, and then I just totally forgot all about it. I was thinking about duels, and so, thank you. So this bond issue, we're actually doing it a little bit differently than the way that you guys and that we have done bonds in the past. The most recent session of the General Assembly last year, not the short session, they allowed school districts to issue general obligation bonds, which is new for schools, but it's for a million years been how city governments, county governments, library districts in Kentucky issue all of their debt. And essentially what you're saying is we are securing the debt with our ability to levy taxes. And people who buy bonds view that as a much stronger security, a much stronger pledge than the way that we used to do it, which was a lease that automatically renews every year. So they view it as a stronger credit, and that means, for you, lower interest rates. And so this is generally how all school districts, since that was authorized, have been selling their bonds. The vast majority of them have been sold in this way. And again, we view it, it's a lower interest rate for you guys. And I'm going to have to, unfortunately, read all of this to you here in a minute. And it's going to talk about levying a tax. But before I read it, I want to assure you that we are doing this bond issue and this project within the context of the district's existing tax rates. It is not requiring you to levy new taxes.
Yeah. And everybody online understand
Did everyone
that.
hear that? No new
It's
taxes.
going to talk about taxes, but it's in the context of where the legislature just allowed us to issue these bonds based on the taxes we've already levied. We are not doing new taxes.
That's correct. And it does say specifically in this summary that to the extent that you have other funds available to pay it, you don't have to levy a new tax. And that is what we are doing.
Yeah.
Just to be clear, because it's kind of scary language in here, but I also want to say that before we do it. So that's what we're doing. And we're moving on a pretty quick schedule. We are scheduled to sell the bonds on April 2nd, so about a week and a half from now, at which point we'll be locked into an interest rate. We'll close 3 weeks later and get the money to the district and can pay for that stuff. So pretty quick schedule, hoping to easy peasy. Interest rates are right around 4% right now. And so we feel pretty good that we're going to be able to move quickly and get it all wrapped up for you for the end of the fiscal year.
Thank you.
So if you want, I will now read this summary before you guys vote on it. And apologies, it is long. The Board of Education of Estill County, Kentucky, at a regular meeting on March 20, 2025, passed and adopted a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the Board of Education of Estill County, Kentucky, the Board, authorizing and approving the issuance of general obligation bonds, Series 2025, in a principal amount of $890,000, subject to an increase of up to $90,000 or a decrease in any amount determined to be in the best interest of the Board, the bonds, the proceeds of which are to be used for public school projects, authorizing the establishment of certain funds to provide for the collection to the extent required of the proceeds of a direct annual tax on all taxable property within the school district, in addition to all other taxes, authorizing the execution of the bonds and the disbursement of the taxes, disbursement of the proceeds thereof, authorizing the investment of funds pursuant to KRS 66.480 providing for delegation by the Board of Education of authority to the Secretary of the Board to determine certain matters relating to the bonds, and authorizing such other documents, agreements, and certificates necessary or required for the issuance of the bonds. The resolution authorizes the issuance of $890,000 of the Board of Education's General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2025, the bonds, subject to permitted adjustment, to be issued for the purpose of financing construction of athletic improvements in the Estill County School District, collectively the project. To assure the payment of the bonds, it is necessary that the Board of Education authorize the levy of a tax, bond tax, sufficient to pay debt service on the bonds, provided, however, it is now anticipated that other available taxes and revenues of the Board of Education will be sufficient to meet the debt service requirements of the bonds without the collection of the bond tax. Section 5C of the bond resolution, which levies the bond tax, reads as follows: that pursuant to Section 157 of the Constitution of Kentucky and KRS Chapter 66.111, there is hereby authorized to be levied, and the board hereby does so levy without limitation as to rate or amount each year that the bonds remain outstanding, a tax in an amount sufficient to provide for the full payment of the principal and interest requirements on said bonds, provided, however, that said tax shall be collected only to the extent that other receipts from the existing board taxes and other sources are not sufficient to provide for the full payment of the debt service payments on the bonds each year. That by the adoption of the resolution, the Board of Education covenants with owners of the bonds that it shall, if necessary, collect each year a bond tax in a sufficient amount and appropriate in its annual budget, together with other monies available to it, an amount of funds sufficient to pay the debt charges on the bonds as defined in Section 66.0114 of the Kentucky Revised Statutes. The bonds are to be sold at a publicly advertised competitive sale. The bonds will mature over a term not to exceed 20 years. The resolution establishes a sinking fund to provide for the payment of the principal and interest requirements of the bonds on the same become due. A copy of the resolution is available in the office of the Secretary of the Board of Education. This summary has been prepared by David B. Malone of Steptoe & Johnson, PLLC, Louisville, Kentucky, Bond Counsel to the Board of Education.
Do you have any further?
Just my recommendation, we approve.
I need a motion for approval of a resolution authorizing the issuance of approximately $890,000 Estill County Board of Education General Obligation Bonds, Series of 2025, and approving all other documents in connection with the proposed bond issue. Carrie Smallwood makes a motion, Sharon Whitaker makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Moving right along, we have consideration for approval of the overall site design and phasing. Mr. Brock, do you have anything to add?
No, they've already talked about it. It's my recommendation, we approve.
I need a motion to approve the overall site design and phasing. Carrie Smallwood makes a motion, Sheila Samples makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? Motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Next, we have consideration for approval to advertise for bid package number 1 and early site package, that's on April 22nd.
Yeah, that's what Mr. Davis was talking about. I recommend we approve.
Okay, I need a motion for approval to advertise for bid package number 1 with early site package prep, and that'll be April 22nd. Ms. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Now go dig dirt.
Play in the dirt.
Thank you all for being here. We appreciate it. Be safe. It's a little rainy outside. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you. Be careful. Bye-bye. Thank you. We'll be seeing you soon.
Thank you.
Okay, that brings us down to our action items. First, we have consideration for approval of the Commonwealth of Kentucky contract.
I think this got to do with our summer electronic funds. Angie, is that correct? Angie? Yeah, so it's got to do with our summer electronic benefits transfer. It's my recommendation we approve.
Okay. I I need a motion for approval of summer benefits transfer for the Commonwealth of Kentucky contract. So Tammy Hardy makes a motion, Sheila Samples makes a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Next, we have consideration for approval of the Blue Train Theater fundraiser, the Mad Hatter Tea Party and Egg Hunt.
It's a fundraiser to support our musical that we're gonna do this spring. It's my recommendation we approve.
I need a motion for approval of the Blue Train Theater fundraiser. Sharon Whitaker makes a motion, Sheila Samples makes a second. Do we have any discussion?
I'm just gonna be saying, I'm working, I'm gonna miss it. Looks like a fun time.
I know.
Sounds fun.
All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries 5-0 vote. Next, we have consideration for approval of the second CATS offer of assistance. Mr. Brock?
Yeah, this is our second offer, this year for CATS, which has dealt with our technology. Jeremy, you got anything to add on it? It's my recommendation we approve it. It's pretty standard.
Okay, I need a motion for approval of the second CADS offer of assistance. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries with a 5-0 vote. Next on our action items, we need consideration for approval of the orientation and mobility services.
Yeah, and I think this is an MOA with Ms. Bryant, and it's dealt with testing and student services, correct?
It's for students with visual impairment.
Yeah. So it's my recommendation we approve.
Okay, so I need a motion for approval of the orientation and mobility services, as referred to by Ms. Bryant. It covers vision impairment. Tammy Hardy makes a motion, Sharon Whitaker makes a second. Do we have any discussion? If not, call for a vote. All in favor? Any opposed? The motion carries. I moved through those fast.
Yeah, we did good.
Next, that brings us down to our consent items. Mr. Brock, would you like to discuss those?
So it's the standard consent items we have every month, with the exception of the calendar, and I'll talk about it a little bit more. Improve the February board minutes, treasurer report, and the payment of bills, superintendent's travels. I think I went to a couple co-op meetings this month is all. And amendment of the school calendar. This is just a temporary look at, but we want to get out there as soon as we could. We did survey with the staff and stuff. This amended calendar would take the first 3 days of spring break, and students would go Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and give them Thursday and Friday off, which would back us up currently to the last day for students being the 28th and the closing day being the 29th, which would tentatively put graduation on the 30th. However, I'll talk about relief from the state here in a minute, and if that continues to move through and pass, then it would change. So this would be where we were at if there is no relief, and it would put us at this calendar. So, and then the last is the district staffing, cleaned up some wording on it from last year. There's some positions that have been eliminated, and consideration for some help with maybe finance and human resource. So that's our consent items. It's my recommendation we approve.
So I need a motion to approve the consent items as reviewed by Mr. Brock. Sheila Samples makes a motion. Do I have a second? Tammy Hardy makes a second. Do we have any discussions, any questions or comments?
I will say, isn't there, since we're gonna take 3 days of spring break, and I know some people have already got vacations planned, were we gonna make some kind of thing for the children that would be out?
Yeah, so there's an opportunity, and I've already talked to Mr. Norton about this, and principals will be getting that information out. But there is opportunity for educational enhancement, opportunities where there would be excused for those days. They would not be unexcused days, but they do have to go somewhere that couldn't occur within Estill County. It would be for a trip. So principals will have more information on that, and me and Mr. Norton's already talked about it. So yeah, that will be there.
Okay. I'd like to call for a vote at this time. All in favor? Any opposed? Consent items are approved with a 5-0 vote. Next, that brings us down to Mr. Brock.
All
and
right,
our superintendent report.
I'll roll through these pretty quickly because I don't want to take a whole lot of time. We've had a lot more stuff. Our attendance this year is sitting at 92.19% currently. That's up from last year of 91.49%. Our enrollment setting at 2201, which is down 2 students overall, but it's up in K through 12. Because we've got less preschoolers. So we're still up in K through 12, which is tied to our funding, our seat funding. So if the legislature continues to move 241 through, it came out of the House, it went to the Senate, it picked up an amendment, it come back to the House, they didn't approve, so they sent it to free conference. There was agreement in free conference, and now it's come out of free conference, which would give us relief, which would allow us to adopt the 1,062-hour calendar rather than the traditional calendar that we currently have. If we do that, we could back up an additional 8 days from the 29th or 28th, which we're currently looking at. We would have to make that decision. There's pros and cons to that. The pros are it gets students out earlier. There are some cons because you lose a little bit of money for transportation, some money for food services, and you lose some instructional time, and we've already lost some instructional time this year. So we would have to have that discussion if it comes out, but it would give us the opportunity to potentially get back, I think, to the 14th would be the last day for kids, and the 15th would be closing day for staff.
When's the testing window?
The testing window is based on when our last day of school is, so as the last day of school moves, the testing window moves, so, yeah. So that's, the attendance and the relief days. Obviously, very happy to have our new SRO. We are making an academic push, toward the end of the calendar year because we have missed a lot of instructional days this year. Even though we've missed a lot of instructional days this year, the data is showing us that our kids are still making improvement. We're still pushing forward, and we're still improving academically. It'll take a little bit more data over the next month or so before I can probably give you a good idea of where we're at. I do feel like we're probably going to maintain and improve some over what we did last year, even with the missed academic days, which is, when you miss 23 days, that's huge. That just tells you the work that our students and our staff have put in. I'll continue to monitor that data, and I'll have a little bit better picture for you in the next month or so. The music, we talked about the musical a minute ago. It's coming up. Encourage everybody to come out to it in April I'm trying to remember, the 25th.
The school performance, and you have the evening performance that night, and then the 27th.
Yeah, so the 25th and the 27th. It's going to be great. Again, it's opportunities for our kids. And as we're planning for next year and meeting, we're looking at even some more opportunities coming in for our kids and getting very creative with what we're doing. Because like I've told you all before, and y'all have heard me say, like if we can just give these kids opportunities, we've got the best kids in the world. They will thrive and they will succeed. So that's where we're at currently for planning for next year. All of our jobs that are open are posted. Anybody that's not coming back has already told us they're not coming back, or that they know that they are not coming back. I like to post early because if you post early, you get the cream of the crop that goes ahead and applies, and you get a lot better applicant pool. So those are already posted, so we're already on top of that and planning for next year. That's my report.
Okay. Does anybody have any questions? If not, that brings us down to our principal's report.
Ms. Halcom, you got the mic.
I'll make this quick. We have a lot of things going on at the middle school right now. I want to brag on our FFA. Our FFA chapter, for the very first time, went and competed in a regional competition. They brought home a superior rating, which is the highest rating that you can get. We had one student, Lucy Woolery, who also rated superior in her speech contest. So we are very, very proud of our FFA right now. We are still gaining members. I think we are up to 65 active members in our FFA at the middle school. If you would have came out to the school yesterday, you would have seen every staff member almost in their FFA shirt. Ms. Miller has really involved the staff with that today. We had students in the cafeteria passing out cowtails and other things, and facts about pigs and cattle and Estill County ag production. It was incredible to see these kids get involved and really thrive. She's got some extra shirts she wanted me to share that they're $15 a piece for anybody that wants to buy an FFA shirt. The back of them say "Breaking New Ground." They are really, really nice. So if anybody would like a shirt, see Miss Miller. You'll see here on the flyer that Mr. Smith's class, his sixth grade science class, they had to do an experiment with rocks. They had to kind of dive in, go out and find rocks around the school. They found some really neat, interesting rocks, and they had to make predictions on what they thought they were, investigate, do some experimenting, and did some really cool stuff with that. And he collaborated with Miss Beard on that, and it was a really, really rigorous activity for our students, and they did a phenomenal job. As Mr. Brock already stated, our attendance is up. We've had great community support with our attendance awards. Our attendance is really increasing from last year. I'm so proud of our kids and our attendance committee for getting that up and running. I want to thank Mercy Health and Markham and Wallace Hospital for their donation of medical supplies to our medical science class. You can see the kids there dressed in a bunch of stuff that Miss Megan Mills brought them. They had a blast with it. Mr. Short is teaching that class, and they are truly enjoying it, and it's one of the most requested classes from our 8th grade students next year. Miss Arthur, students in her 6th grade choir class had their first play during the school day. It was really, really good. They are doing a phenomenal job, and Miss Arthur has really taken the choir students, and if you get a chance, come out and listen to them. They are great. We had 3 students participate in all district band: Kayla Goosey, TK Murray, and Tegan Crawford. All 3 of them were selected to go and compete in Danville at the high school for the all district band. So we were very, very proud of them. You'll see Miss Gail Henry's class. They created buildings and came into the administrative conference room and presented on their buildings and how many books their buildings could hold, and they did a phenomenal job. On the back, I want to brag on our kids and our community for the Blue Carpet Awards. We had this event this Tuesday. We had RSVP'd over 462 people. We had a great crowd. The staff showed out. I'll get teary-eyed thinking about it and talking about it, but to see these kids get their medals, get their plaques, it was the best time. It was the best feeling. They were very proud of themselves. We have students coming back to school this week saying, next year I'm getting a plaque. I want more than just the medals. So any student who got distinguished in all areas received a plaque. And that's what they want now. They want that plaque. So this is my favorite event that we host at the middle school because it gives us a chance to celebrate our kids in front of their families, in front of their friends. And if you get a chance and you see these kiddos out, recognize them, tell them what a great job they're doing because we truly appreciate them and the hard work that they are putting in. So, only thing that I have, April 2nd is our spring student-led conferences from 4 to 6, and our spring fling is April the 18th.
Thank you all again for the opportunity to be here today. A couple of important days coming up for us before I dive into the meat of the handout that I gave you all. First, I want to thank Ms. Halcomb for inviting our 9th grade students back to celebrate their test scores from last year. I know our students had a tremendous time. We're going to be holding our event, our Engineering Excellence Awards, on April 24th. We decided to move ours back this year as kind of a kickoff to testing so that we really get the kids jazzed up for testing with that awards ceremony shortly before we start KSA testing. So that'll be on April 24th. We'd love for y'all to come out for that. Of course, the musical Mr. Brock mentioned, April 25th and 27th, those are going to be coming up. Also, that weekend, we will be having our FFA greenhouse sale. We'll start around that weekend as well. We're trying to time a lot of our events along with the Mushroom Festival, so we've got a lot of people who can be in town and come to our events and come to see what the good things that are going on at the high school. May 3rd will be prom. Of course, the theme, if you saw online, is Meet Me at Midnight. So it's going to be a really cool event this year, and that will be on May 3rd. March is always my favorite month to talk to the board because there are so many celebrations for our students. And what you have before you today, the paper that I gave you, is really just a celebration of the awesome things that our clubs are doing. They're competing. FBLA, we had a number of students there that are going to state. Estill, Kylie Kiner, Sydney Arthur, Michaelan Cantor, Tilly Osborne, and Shylin Jones. And I'm really proud of Ms. Smith and what they're working on right now with FBLA because they won the award at their regional competition for the largest chapter percentage increase from last year. And if you haven't seen the Facebook posts about it, Estill Marketing is up and running. It is the initial phase of our school-based enterprise that will be full-fledged next year with some additional cool opportunities in graphic design we're going to be offering our students. But they've already put in they've already had and put out their first orders. I actually got a text from somebody in the community today thanking me for their service, the tremendous job they did, and how quickly and efficiently they got it turned around for them for a pretty substantial order. So if you have any marketing needs out in the community, please contact Ms. Jenna Smith at the high school, and her team is already off and running with Estill Marketing. So that's been really cool to see that take off this month. FCCLA, I've got the list there for you. Again, Kylie Kiner and Sydney Arthur were first place. Nora Taylor, Haven Reynolds, Caitlin Bledsoe, Michaelan Cantor, and Nebraska Plowman, as well as Kaylee Powell Norton and Brooklyn Farrell. All those students who were first place will be advancing to state competition. Our other students who did tremendously as well, Haley Larison and Emily Lay, Leandra Beagle and Madison Cole, and Ava Hale, all placed in their competitions. And then our students in FFA also went to the Bluegrass Regional FFA Day. We had 6 students who received superior ratings for their speeches, and those are all listed there. Will Beckley, Dylan Spencer, Jada Crow, Brooke Rogers, Emily Calmes, and Jason Tipton all received superior ratings in their speeches at Bluegrass Regional FFA Day. So it's been a really great month for our CTE clubs, CTSOs. Also, I want to really brag on our Y Club group. Mr. Hatfield heads that up, and they went to the Kentucky United Nations Assembly. I'll let you all read through all that. There's way too much there. My other principals will get mad at me, but they did a tremendous job. Estill County, we are a school district. It's not one of the largest in the state, but when it came to our delegation at Kentucky United Nations Assembly, we had the 3rd largest delegation there in the state, behind only Oldham County and a school in Louisville whose name escapes me right now. But when you think about Estill County having the 3rd largest delegation there, our students got to experience what it's like to be a part of the political process in the international arena, and it was so much fun for these kids. They had such a tremendous experience. So we're really proud of the job Mr. Hatfield's done with this group as well. And then I've got some pictures there for you all of each of these groups because we posted them on social media. But I just, again, want to recognize the great things that our students are doing. And as Mr. Brock said, it's all about giving kids opportunities. And right now you can see that at Estill County High School, our kids have so many opportunities, and we're really proud of the great things that they're accomplishing. Thank you all.
It's been a great month at Estill Springs. That's what we wanted to kind of start off with the top left-hand corner. We are very appreciative that Carhartt, that's what granted new staff some high-vis jackets. That's what we're very appreciative of it. That some were donated in years past, that's it, but we've had some new staff that have come in the last couple of years, but we wanted to thank Carhartt for that support. And we know how temperature is crazy, so we were very appreciative of those jackets, especially with the temperature change this week. But even with the cold weather, we know that our 4th grade science class and grade is very much looking forward to spring. And one of the pictures that we wanted to give you was that they were investigating parts of the daffodil, and so they were doing a plant dissection. That's what in understanding plant structures and functions. At the very beginning of the month, that's what we had Read Across America Week, which is a huge, huge thing for elementary schools. We celebrate Dr. Seuss's birthday during that time, but also the advocacy and love of reading and trying to develop that from all learners and all people across the nation. And so some of the pictures that we have down at the bottom is Crazy Hair Day. That was one of our themes. That's what we had towards the middle and the end of the week. We also had our book fair during that time to help promote literacy across all of our grade levels. And we had a family learning night as well. That's to where they could come in, read stories, take AR tests, and a bunch of other things. We had a couple, now that we were back in school, that's what we celebrated our books for birthdays with the book vending machines. Just, I think, either last week or the week before, we had our final lunch with loved ones. That it was our kindergarten grade, and it was a packed house. That's it. We had lots of family members that came in to have lunch with loved ones, and we were very appreciative of that community coming in and being able to have lunch with their students. The Teddy Bear Fair at Mercy Health, our first grade students got to go and learn. That's a bunch of things at the Teddy Bear Fair, and we were very appreciative of Mercy Health sponsoring that and hosting us. On March the 6th, I do not know if you all know that Estill Springs has a phrase that we say to the kids at the beginning of school and at the end of the school: we love you more than milk and cookies. And March the 6th is National Oreo Cookie Day, and that happened to coincide with our group coaching that week. And so we wanted to make sure that we tell our teachers that we also love you more than milk and cookies. So we wanted to bring some Oreos and some milk while we looked at some data. That was a big data analysis day for us because we just finished our March growth monitoring, and we really wanted to look at our progress of how we compared from the fall to the winter and going into the spring diagnostic here coming up in the next couple of weeks. So teachers were diving into data but enjoying some milk and cookies at the same time. We are seeing a great trend right now in our positive office referrals, also with not only academics. So one of the challenges that we know a lot of classes are doing, we're seeing positive office referrals increase for academics. The admin team have challenged the students to see how many friends that they could bring in for positive office referrals and increase those numbers. That's for students mastering their weekly assessments. And then the example that we have down at the bottom is that we are seeing an increase of positive office referrals for behavior and leadership. This student, that's what he finished. That's a very strenuous on-demand writing prompt, and he offered to go and help other students, not only just helping support and coach them, but he was actually helping them, guide them, and teach them. And he wanted to offer that, so we wanted to exhibit those leadership skills. Teachers, we are preparing right now for the spring diagnostic assessment for grades 3 through 5. And some of the very exciting things that we've got coming up is that we have tentatively scheduled our family learning night for the month of April, and it's going to be civics themed. That's going to be led up by our social studies department. And also we have our testing award ceremony coming up, and we have some tentative dates that we will get solidified here in the next little bit. Yep, but thank you. Jeremy, do you want me to go ahead? Do you have our flyer out there? I'll go ahead and start without it. So, it's okay. So our attendance is up there in the corner. It's down a little bit this month, 85.61. Enrollment, I think I heard Mr. Brock say preschool was down a little bit. We have lost a few students. We've also gained 8 students since Christmas. So we have 137 preschool students, 16 early Head Start students, and we have those 8 newly enrolled students. Under that, we normally assess more than what we've been able to. So we were not able to assess our students in January or February, but we got it complete in March, so you can see our data there. Just a few, we call them kindergarten readiness skills there, and we'll assess one more time so you can see the improvement. I won't read them each to you, but I'll just explain how it reads. So recognizes 20 or more uppercase letters. In September, we had 14% of our kids that could do that, November 28%, and in March 35%. And we only assess our 4-year-old students. We do have some 3-year-old students and some that would technically be 2-year-olds. And then in the middle of that, I just shared some fun events since you didn't get to see February, and then March also. There's some of our Valentine celebrations. We finished up our exercise unit, and right now we're in our gardening unit. In the very center, you can see that we have some raised garden beds outside and inside. We have play areas in our room, and that's just an example of one of them. We're required to switch out our play areas for each unit, and that's a flower shop you can see in the center. We have brought in a lot of visitors into our building lately. The picture on the left in the cafeteria, that is the 4-H extension office came in and they created little greenhouses with each of our kids.
And then the pictures on the right, we had central office staff and Success Academy students come in and work with our children. They read to them, they ate lunch and ate breakfast with, I think they've been there several times in the last month.
All right, so at the Success Academy, we've been looking at a lot of data, trying to make sure that we get all of our seniors where they need to be and get our students moved up to the next grade level, staying on track with their work. Since it is all online, it makes it a little more difficult. So even with the weather and the NTI, I had on there that we hit the goal and that the students that have met expectations were at 80%, but with the 12 kids that we got in to do the civics test, we're now up to 92% of our kids, which is really good for our group of students. I also have on there our trip to South Irvin. We went and got to actually eat lunch with the South Irvin kiddos, and that is one of my students' favorite things to do. They ask every month if we can go and do something, and we have tried to, so they really enjoy that. With our testing that we've had several juniors and seniors that have had to take the ACT over the last couple of weeks with the help of Miss O'Brien, and then my two virtual teachers have done a great job of getting all that finished. And we have had 12 out of 12 students pass the civics exam in the last 2 weeks, so that's been really exciting for us. Then one of our main goals at the Success Academy, of course, is to try to build those relationships with the middle and high school, to be able to give them a safe person when they get to transition back to those schools. We don't want to just send them there without feeling like they have somebody there that they connect with. With that, we've had our Frisky people. Miss Sutter has come in and actually cooked with our kids this month. She's been awesome with doing that. Our counselors have been coming down weekly, and they are awesome at making sure that our kids have what they need. And then Mr. Flynn at the middle school has made sure this month that one of our students has gotten a bed to sleep in. So they've really been helping us this last month, and they've been super involved with my kids. So we're super thankful for all of them.
Okay, thank you for those updates. Sounds like a great time to be an engineer. Do we have any public comments?
Yes, ma'am, we do.
Okay.
First one was from Candace Gould. First comment is from Candace Gould. With the blasting that is going to take place in preparation for the new middle school, will there be any risk for ground shifting and structural changes that would affect our current middle school? I know they are close together and wasn't sure how far from the blasting site changes might occur, especially to an already borderline unsafe school where children will still have to attend.
Yeah, the people that do the blasting and move the soil, they'll take all that into consideration. And before students go back in, it will once again be monitored by a structural engineer. But blasting occurs all the time on construction sites close to other buildings, and we will make sure that if something occurs, we'll have an alternate place, but it will be monitored. Engineers will look at it after the blasting to make sure that it's safe.
Second comment is from Crystal Proctor. Is the students going to have spring break, and also after summer break, when is the first day back for students?
Calendars are on the district website. Because of the construction this year, September would be the first day for school, and they'll get 2 days of spring break. We talked about it earlier in the meeting. We've taken 3.
Amber Gordon wants to know where the new middle school is going to be built, which has already been answered.
Yep,
as part of
behind the high
meeting.
school.
And the last comment from Peggy Baca, sorry if I mispronounced that name. First, in regards to the proposed calendar change, I would much rather lose spring break than to extend the school year into June, which is.
Yep.
These are the exact same questions in regards to spring break, which we've already voted on. The other is about the safety of blasting and windows of middle school, which you just answered. So.
Yep. Thank you.
But one of the things that people need to keep in mind, our current school schedule is fluid at this time.
Yes, it is.
It's dependent on what the legislature does. It's dependent on several different things, so it's still fluid.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, even though we approved the calendar tonight, that puts us to the end of May. Depending on whether we get relief or not, as we talked about earlier, that still can change. So give Mr. Yost a little bit of grace on the graduation date. We will get it to you as soon as we possibly can.
So long as it's not May the 24th at 10 o'clock in the morning at EKU.
And
I
I
have a
think that I
question.
skipped board member forum. Oh, okay.
I have a question. As it relates to the summer and the athletic practices and things like that that occur on campus. I'm thinking football,
Yeah.
soccer, things like that. Will they still be able to do that during this construction process with the blasting and all that in the summer, or?
They will, but it'll have to be of the evenings when there is no blasting, and I've already talked to Mr. Moore about alternative sites for them to be able to practice on in the event that we get behind schedule and have to run 2 different blasting sessions.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Which, that brings us to board member forum. Does anyone have anything they'd like to share, or I kind of skipped over it. Anybody have anything to report or to share?
All right.
I was able to, attend KSBA this past weekend in Shelbyville. I serve on that state, board of directors, and so, KSBA is a very important, factor. If you're on a school board, they help keep us educated, they help us to know what's current, they help us to watch out for bills at the legislative, on the legislative side. So they're very informative, and I just want to give a shout out to KSBA and all the work that they do to help keep us educated and involved. So, I guess if there's nothing further, I need to call for a motion to adjourn. Sheila Samples makes a motion and Tammy Hardy makes a second. All in favor?
Thank you all.